All right, right there was a lick from my guest today. Welcome, everybody. Uh, Hudson Music is proud to welcome you here to this Zoom. How's everybody doing? I see some friends out there. Welcome. Come on in. Hey, Los. I see Scott Williams. I see Bart. What's up, Bart? Bart has a great book out with Hudson. Welcome, everybody.
All right.
Can't see everybody, but welcome. This is a chat that Hudson Music is hosting, and we're very happy that you took some time out of your day to join us. We have as our guest today, I'm Joe Bergamini, by the way, from Hudson Music, for those who may not know me. We have as our guest today one of Hudson Music's longest time friends, actually produced a project very near the beginning of Hudson Music's existence, History of the U.S. Beat, which at that time was a DVD. I'm Spring Chicken, so it was before my tenure, but great, his classic
Right,
DVD.
it was. That's true.
And I'm sure everyone knows him. He's a living legend, one of the most respected drummers on this planet, and for good reason, in my humble estimation, Mr. Steve Smith.
Well, thank you, Joe. Great introduction there. I appreciate that. Yeah, that if I remember in a way, the drum set technique history of the US beat DVD was the first, let's say, big production for Hudson Music, where we went into a studio for a few days. I had my title information group with me. You know, we did a lot of preparation to figure out what it was that we were going to do, and it turned into a pretty big project, which set the tone for the Hudson projects to come.
Mhm.
Because it ended up being like over 4 hours, which
Yeah.
we didn't expect. You know, we thought it would be one DVD, maybe 2 hours, but it ended up, I think it was close to 5 hours, something like that, which then, as soon as other people like Thomas Lang came along, okay, I have to do 7 hours now. And then, and then the next videos, they get longer and longer because they'd be 2 or 3 DVDs. So anyway, it's been a great run. And that was 2002 that we
Yeah.
did that. So, yeah.
Hey, everybody, just FYI, we didn't set this up so you came in on mute. So just check your mic and put yourself on mute, because if you're not on there, we could get feedback like we just did. Just take a look. I see a couple people are not on mute. So, and by the way, the anything that was a DVD, in case you threw your DVD player in the garbage, all of that content is available as instant video on the Hudson Music website, and it integrates really well with the digital books. And then one project that I learned a ton from after that, Steve, was Drum Legacy, which
Right.
uh, you did a amazing historical perspective using music on some of the jazz greats were your inspirations, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, that came about because, first of all, I've had a few different groups. Of course, Vital Information ever since 1983 has been a constant. And then in after I played some gigs with the Buddy Rich Big Band in the late 90s, uh, Kathy Rich and Steve Arnold at the time asked me to do this small group called Buddy's Buddies. And Buddy's Buddies were the Buddy Rich alumni, Steve Marcus and Andy Fusco, who had played with Buddy for a long time. And we did a small group where we had really cool arrangements of some of the big band charts, and we went out and toured and made some albums. And eventually that group became its own group, unrelated to the Buddy Rich name and legacy, and we called it the group Steve Smith's Jazz Legacy, and we just kind of opened it up to be playing the music of a lot of the great jazz drummers. So we had arrangements written where we played music of Art Blakey and Tony Williams and Elvin Jones and Philly Joe Jones. So that became a pretty wide-ranging group. And we happened to play at the Modern Drummer Festival in 2006. and we had a lot of great footage of all these different arrangements made famous by Art Blakey, Tony Williams, and so on. And so we focused on each drummer and created an entire DVD where I talked about my inspiration, like behind Max Roach, Art Blakey, Tony, all these great drummers. So that really was a beautiful labor of love that turned into quite a detailed DVD called "Standing on the Shoulders of Drum Legacies: Standing on the Shoulders of Giants." Still holds up, I think. And John Riley is in that as my interviewer. And we called him like literally the day before. He had no preparation, but the guy was incredible that he knew so much. He knew like so much of everything that I was discussing and then more. And he had seen every one of the drummers I talked about. And one of the drummers I talked about was one that a lot of people wouldn't know about, is Joe Dukes, who was an organ specialist. He played with organ players, and John Riley had even seen Joe Dukes live. So that was kind of a trip. That was a really great DVD. If you haven't seen it, it's well worth checking out.
Yeah. So watching the two of you and listening and learning from the two of you in that discussion was amazing. And and John is just such a encyclopedia of jazz. He could just let it rip on a moment's notice,
Yep, and he did. It was
totally.
great.
And I'm not sure. I think this is something I have to double check. But the PDF that came with that, just like the previous DVD, the PDF really was useful because it had so many motifs and things transcribed in it. I think you can access it if you have the digital video on the Hudson site.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
We'll check it out.
So moving more towards the present.
Yes.
Was a book called Pathways of Motion. That was your most recent book with Hudson Music. And we want to talk about this a little bit today. Steve, I want to talk a little bit about your current band and touring and everything. So why don't we talked a little bit about some educational stuff. So why don't we talk about the band and we'll circle back to the book in a little bit.
All right, sounds good. I have
a
new album. It's called
beautiful. Yeah, look at that.
New Perspective. We have, of course, CD, vinyl, and also Dolby Atmos mixes, where you can find them on immersiveaudio.com if you happen to have a home system that can play Dolby Atmos. But it's mixed in Dolby Atmos, so it on Apple Music. If you have the right headphones, you can hear it. In Amazon and Tidal, those three support Atmos. But yeah, it's out. The new album came out in February 2025. And I have an incredible new Vital Information lineup. Manuel Valera on keyboards and Yannick Guizdala on bass, two great virtuosic players that we've been playing together since 2020. We played at the Drumeo Festival in February 2020, and then of course there was this long interruption for a couple of years where we didn't play, but once we got back together, we recorded an album called Time Flies that came out in 2023. That's the 40th anniversary of a Vital Information recording. And we've been working a lot, and every time we get together, we're writing and rehearsing, and new music happens. So usually in the middle of one of the tours, we stop into a studio, record for a day or two, make a new album, and then it comes out, and we just keep going. So right now we're in the middle of touring to support this album. We just did a pretty extensive West Coast tour. We're going to Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London next weekend, and then back in the U.S. for a June run of the East Coast.
That's great. I hope a lot of people can get out to see you. How did you find the two new musicians in your band? You always had great players with you.
Yeah, well, Yannick Wisdala on bass, I met him in 2015 touring with Mike Stern. So Mike had a tour of Europe with Randy Brecker, and it was a quartet with me and Mike, Randy, and Yannick. And that's when I first met him. And we toured for about a month over there. And he played so great, and it was easy and fun to be on tour with. So, I just filed it away. It's like, if I ever need a bass player, this guy is the guy I'm going to call. And unfortunately, my bass player of 20 plus years, Baron Brown, passed away. He had some very serious health issues and then died of brain cancer in 2022. So, but Yannick had filled in 2020 when Baron was sick. So that's how I met Yannick. And then Vinny Valentino, my guitarist of a very long time, introduced me to Manuel Valera. And just to mention, Yannick is from London originally. He lives in LA now. And Manuel's from Cuba and lives close to me here in New York City and Washington Heights. So Manuel he's really kind of a genius player and writer, arranger, and so happy to have these guys in the group.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's something I became probably more fascinated with and paid more attention to it since working with Billy Cobham, which we did a book with. And Billy, mentioned that, in confidence a couple times where he had someone and then got into rehearsals and realized maybe the person wasn't able to keep up. Now we're going to talk about Konakal, South Indian rhythms. I mean, you're challenging these players at a high level. These guys clearly are keeping, they're amazing. I don't know if you ever had a situation where.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, like, because the last incarnation of Vital Information before this new trio version, I call the albums Vital Information NYC edition. And we were able to record some difficult music, like in odd times, like a tune called 8+5 that's in 13, and some of the conical stuff. But it was very difficult for that band to play that music live. They really weren't accustomed, except for Baron. Could really play odd times, and he was very comfortable with it and played it with Jean-Luc Ponty a lot, and Cobham. He toured with Cobham. Mm-hmm. He could play that music, but the other guys really struggled with that. So we didn't really play so much of that with that group live. But as soon as Manuel and Yannick were in the group, they had no problem at all with that. And in fact, we started playing those tunes live, and then they went to a whole nother place and really became something new. We re-recorded a couple of them for the New Perspective album because they'd evolved so much over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So these guys are really, really strong players.
Mm-hmm. Something that gets asked a lot, at least by my students, and I think it's hard to put into words, but when you're playing in the South Indian construct or you're playing in odd time, the question always gets asked, well, how do you get so comfortable soloing and playing fills and when it's in, let's say, a South Indian cycle or something like 13 that's not common? I mean, just doing it a lot, or are you thinking of the melody, or all of that?
It's different. I would say it's different in a lot of whatever the situation is. If there's a vamp that's a clear, like, baseline vamp that I'm soloing over, that's really helpful. That I can listen to the vamp. And when I'm getting ready, when I'm getting myself prepared to play in an odd time, I will do a lot of homework and, like, really shed, meaning starting just counting and playing and, getting really comfortable with whatever the time signature. And that tune 8+5, the solo section, in a way, it's not that hard for me because I'm real comfortable with the idea of it. And it's essentially, it's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. It like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So if I just think about that, like, it's 4 plus 2 cycles of 5. Like most of the solo is that. So if I keep that in mind, I just play phrases that I know are going to work with that cycle. And then like purely playing with South Indian musicians in an odd time is a lot harder because there's no bass.
Right.
So there's never a bass line.
Right.
I mean, there can be like a sitar or another instrument, playing a vamp, which definitely helps. But I mean, I'd say the hardest environment that I ever was in soloing in odd times was Hiromi, the trio project with Anthony Jackson and Hiromi. And that music had a lot of solos, drum solos, because the two main soloists were piano and drums.
Right.
Anthony doesn't really like to solo, so he would play maybe one solo a night on some tune, but the drums soloed on almost every song. And so I really had to like do a lot of homework getting comfortable with the odd time signatures, and it just starts with counting, and then my Indian training come in because I figure out how many 7s and how many 5s and 3s and like all these like just small phrases, how they would fit in a vamp in 11 or in 9 or something like that. I actually just do it, like I think about it mathematically, I get comfortable with it, and when it comes time to improvise, you definitely have to be conscious, but somehow get to a place where I can let the front part of my brain that's being super conscious loosen up so I can get into the flow and improvise. Right. And if I make a mistake every so often, so be it. That's okay. It's okay. It just has to be, because when you're in that environment, it has to be fresh. It's not like playing a preconceived part. It's improvisation. You can mess up pretty easily, and you just have to. I somehow get to the point where maybe you don't mess up. Hopefully you don't. But if you do, you can't let it trip you up. You have to just keep going.
Yeah, and then more importantly, if it happens, in performance and it's not. What's an eighth note between friends? Like, let's say somebody's off. Like, you can't rehearse recovering from that.
No, you just have to somehow recover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to we'll make sure we leave enough time to talk about the book and technique. But one thing that I'm sure people noticed with the new album and that's really cool about it is there's some Journey tunes on there.
That's right. There's 3 Journey tunes on the new album.
So when I put it on, I mean, Don't Stop Believin' is so reinvented that I don't think I would have known that it was that song.
Yeah, I mean, we did Don't Stop Believin'. That's very different. And Manuel arranged that. Yannick arranged Who's Crying Now, and that one is very, different. And then Open Arms, which is a little more recognizable.
Right.
The Yannick and Manuel really wanted to play some Journey music, which I wasn't in favor of until they came in with the arrangements, and they were so good. We couldn't deny it. So we played Don't Stop Believin', the new arrangement, live to sort of test it out, and people loved it. But it's true, like people didn't always know what it was, but they liked the music. And then eventually I just announced, okay, we're going to play Don't Stop Believin', and everyone would laugh. And then we would play it, and people liked it. It's definitely recognizable.
Yeah, I remember. I believe I saw you play the song when you were out here, maybe at the Newton Theater in New Jersey when you were on tour.
Yeah, we could have. We were probably working on it back then.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
And
And we have a new arrangement. What we call the name of the album is New Perspective, because we have re-recorded some tunes that I have recorded previously
okay,
with Vital Information or with Steps Ahead. Like we do a tune called Sumo that was written by Michael Brecker that I used to play when I was in the band in 1986, and then we do a very different version of The Perfect Date. This is like really
yeah,
totally changed from the original version. So it's fun to play this music live, and so hopefully people can come and see the group. Vitalinformation.com is my website, and the tour dates are all listed there. So hopefully people can come out and see and experience the music live.
for sure. I would highly recommend it. Speaking of playing live, a couple of quick questions before we talk about the book.
Yes.
Have you, like, obviously you enjoy touring with the band. Have you changed or adjusted anything about the way you tour over the years to make it more enjoyable or more efficient or easier on yourself?
Not really, other than I tour a whole lot less now than I ever did. So I'm pretty much only playing on tour with Vital Information now. I haven't been going out as a sideman. So, but I do gigs that aren't Vital Information in New York, like in the fall. I usually play at Birdland for a few weeks with some all-star combinations, and that's super fun. So the main thing is I'm just not touring as much as I used to tour. As far as how we tour, it's still the same. Pretty much we just rent a van and put all the gear in the back and drive from gig to gig. And
Right.
or if that's not possible, we fly and then we borrow. Like on the West Coast tour, we were flying almost every day, but then that means I have to borrow a sonar kit for every venue and get in there 90 minutes early to tweak and set up the kit
Right.
and get ready to play.
Well, I'd highly recommend everyone get out to see the band when they come down the east of the U.S. And then you'll be over at Ronnie Scott's, you said, right?
Next weekend, yeah, the 10th of May, yeah.
And is that a whole weekend of shows?
No, it's just one night, and from what I hear, the two shows are already sold out, so that's good.
Cool. Yeah,
But
and a
hopefully-
venue steeped in a lot of history in there,
A
right?
lot of history, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great place
Cool.
to play.
So let's talk a little bit about Pathways of Motion.
Yes.
So rather than me giving my explanation, can you just, for people who haven't seen the book, explain the basic principle behind the book?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'll say is it is a book, but for me the book is like a guide to the video. So it is like the original book has the DVD included,
Right.
in the back, and so when you get the book, I'm sure you can download the video. So the main thing is it's to watch the video because it is such a visual concept. It's about match grip. It's my discoveries that I made while working on match grip, because I've been a lifelong traditional grip player. That I started in 1963 with a teacher that taught me traditional grip. So since then I played mostly traditional grip, and then around 2012 I was having some problems with my left hand, so I started to give my left hand traditional grip a break by playing match grip, and which led me to really finding out that my left hand needed a lot of work in match grip. And so essentially what I did is I used my right hand to instruct my left hand. And in the process, I discovered that my right hand didn't just play what I would call like match grip, like sort of one way. It played it, essentially, I boiled it down to like 4 different ways. And most of it has to do with playing the ride cymbal beat. The straight ahead, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I noticed that that's a lot of my right hand development comes from that, playing hours and hours of the ride cymbal beat, whether it's on the gigs or practicing, but that ride beat does really can really help one develop a lot of technique. And so I discovered I was holding the stick in just the kind of basic match grip way that I would say most people play match grip, like German grip. The hand, palm down, hand on top of the stick, and then having all the fingers on the stick and closing the hand. And finding, and using the wrist as a hinge.
Right.
So that's like a very fundamental grip. But that wasn't the only way that I was using, my right hand. And then I also, for the most, do a lot of playing where the hand is open. And so I have the stick down, in the first crease of the fingers with the hand open. What Freddie Gruber called it a resonating chamber. So you'd go from having the hand sort of closed to having the hand open, still overhand.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I would be playing, and I'd try to. So my first approach was just to put up a mirror and then play the left hand and try to match it exactly to the right hand. And then I noticed, then I'd play.
Wait, Steve, wait.
Yeah.
When you opened it, I seem to notice your fulcrum changed a little, like that.
Yeah. So when in the first, let's say, and I call it grip 1, 2, 3, and 4. Grip
In the book.
1, yeah. And grip 1, I'm holding it, a lot with the back fingers. So, and I get into describing how I notice that the little finger really has a lot to do with closing the hand. And so when I drop the hand and drop the stick and allow my hand to open, the way that I close my hand is focusing on the little finger and pulling it into my palm. And if I focus on, dropping the stick and then pulling the little finger in, it just naturally closes the hand in a very easy and efficient way. Where if I think about the front, it really doesn't, like the front's a little more independent than the back of the hand.
Right.
And again, going back to the Freddie Gruber lessons, like picking up the stick with the back of the hand is one of the things he talked about. Not
really?
The front of the hand, but the back of the hand.
Huh.
And you can really get a strong, like, upstroke. And then when you saw me go, play with the palm open, then the fulcrum is more the middle finger.
Right.
So it does change from the back of the hand to that middle finger.
Right.
So these are just some of the subtleties that I noticed, and that's why I say watch the video.
Right.
Because it's definitely in the book helps you understand what I'm saying clearly, and it's transcriptions of what I played, but the visual aspect of it is pretty important.
Yeah. So let me just show. So just so you guys can see, if you don't have the book, what Steve is talking about is all of the grips are explained. So for instance, you can see this is grip 2. These are
Yeah.
stills from the video, and this thing uh, connects to the video. So if you have the digital version of the book, for those who haven't done this, you tap the icon and it brings you right to the video.
Great.
So
Yeah.
um,
When I started working on the left-hand grip,
so the digital book is actually a really nicely integrated practicing experience, because you're right there. You don't have to go online or do anything. You just press the button and it plays, right? So it's sort of ideal for this.
Cool. Yeah, yeah, nice. I still have a DVD player. And I
So-
like it. Anyway, so then the third grip is French grip, essentially, like with the thumbs up. And then I have more, and the same opening and closing of the hand. So once again, I went to playing 2 ride cymbals and really getting comfortable with that. So you could see, like, sometimes, let's say, and then the fourth grip is really opening up the front part of the hand and holding the stick with the back finger, the little finger, and the ring finger. And I call that the Tony Williams grip, because when I saw Tony play match grip, it was pretty much how he held the sticks. And you can think about it also like a taiko drummer. When you see the, just. And the advantage of that is you have a very wide range of motion, which makes it easy to play with a big sound. It definitely, for me, it doesn't have the kind of finesse that we're talking about with the other grips, because there's not an inherent rebound. Like grip 1, you can get that rebound. Grip 2, rebound. Grip 3, definitely rebound. But grip 4, you have to sort of create the rebound by moving your hand away from the drum or cymbal at the same velocity, the same speed that would be if you just let go of the stick.
Right.
Because then it comes back on its own. But I just align with that. I align with it, so I creating a rebound.
Look, when you wait.
Not,
When you explain it and you did the stroke, right? Like, but when you set it up, you were here. You were like in here,
yeah.
and
So
Right.
that's the go-to grip if I want to get a big sound, and it's even bigger than, let's say, the German palms down, and it has to do with the range of motion. You can see the advantage of that big stroke, where here you can get a big sound, but you can get a bigger sound the other way. So the point of it all is, like, that. Those are the 4 sort of major grips. There's really infinite number of grips because there's all this gray area in between each one. And then I also introduced the idea of non-symmetrical match grip.
right.
Meaning you don't need to be literally matched. Literally matched means like you're playing like identical grips with both.
Mirror image, right?
Most drummers don't. Even drummers that play match grip, if you really look, you'll see that there's like a little bit of difference between the right hand and the left hand, and one hand might be turned a little bit more So my idea is do it consciously, like work on the grips in their exact matched form. Grip 1, grip 2, grip 3, and 4. And then decide what you want to do as far as symmetrical match grip, where they're both exactly the same, or non-symmetrical, where you have maybe French grip here and German grip here, but you're doing it for a particular reason, to get a particular feel and sound out of the cymbal, or if you play the cymbal this way but you want a rim shot with the palm down this way, so you're making choices that you're aware of. Because, and just to take it back to traditional grip is a non-symmetrical grip. Each hand is totally different, but it works because you have different functions. Each hand is doing something different. And, if you're playing the snare drum, they're both essentially doing the same thing, or a tom. But if you're playing time, usually one hand's on a hi-hat or a cymbal and the other hand's on the snare drum. So you adjust to what is most efficient, feels best. It's going to work for you musically, and it even changes as you move around the kit. It might take like a less energy to play an 8-inch or a 10-inch tom than it does to play an 18 once you get down here.
Yeah.
And they can move as you move around the drum set.
Yeah, I was going to say it's actually almost impossible to play the ride cymbal with a pure German grip.
Not really. No, you can't.
Do this?
No, because it's like Buddy Rich played the ride cymbal with that German grip, and so with the hand over like that.
Right.
And in a way, that's where I see the advantage. Like, okay, if I'm playing with a big band, that ride cymbal has to be really strong. And the strongest way for me to play it is with that overhand kind of grip. And I see Peter Erskine play like that when he plays a ride cymbal in like that situation. But then if you're playing with a trio, and if you watch, say, the way Jack DeJohnette holds the stick, it's more like this. So he does it, if he or any drummer is playing with a trio, you don't need that kind of strength out of the ride cymbal. You just, a lighter kind of sound happens when most of the hand is under the stick.
Yeah.
Because then
it's actually about choices.
It's actually, hey Adam, it's actually very similar to traditional grip in that way. Because in traditional grip, your hand is under the stick, though it has a very light feeling, versus that feels heavier when you with your hand over the stick. So to get the light, the lightest snare sound, the lightest cymbal sound, that's a grip. Right away, it's just a little bit heavier as soon as the hand goes over like that. Versus, so that those are the making choices, making really well-informed choices as you play.
Right. Now, when you present these in the book, you give phrases and exercises and things to try the different techniques with, right?
Yes. You
right.
Want me to point out a couple of those, or do you have any that come to mind?
Well, actually, I wanted to get into talking about the rudimental phrases.
Okay.
But before we do that, just getting back to when you mentioned the way Buddy played the ride cymbal, right? Where his ride cymbal was like that. So even playing in that first position, there's still acts using the fingers to drive the time pattern, right?
Not just the fingers, like it's like kind of like a locomotive. It's like it depends. It could be the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, and then you're getting into like molar. It depends on the volume and the tempo. There's just so many factors.
Right.
So
Right.
it's hard to be. You can't be black and white about it.
Right. And sometimes it might be helpful to have someone who can do it really well watch you do it to make sure you're kind of on the right track, right?
Exactly. So you can get some instant and insightful correction.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
One thing that I really like in the book is you have exercises with the rudiments, paradiddles, and different things that are really cool phrases, and some of them are swung, like
Yeah.
which I think a lot of people think, well, I'm going to play my rudimental stuff, and they're playing like the Nard book,
Yeah.
but you've applied it to swing, which I think is really useful and musical.
Yeah, and I have to say that idea comes from when I was a teenager studying the Charlie Wilcoxon books.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie Wilcoxon wrote books where he integrated the 26 rudiments and you played them with a swing feel. And then I can hear like that was. It's pretty well known that Philly Joe Jones used a lot of that material to develop his technique, and you can hear some of those phrases in his playing. So it takes the rudiments and makes them useful in a variety of settings. So, and just like what you're saying is, and what I was describing is like if you just take a paradiddle and instead of having it just be straight, so it has kind of a shuffle swing feel. Triple paradiddle, right? Double paradiddle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's a double paradiddle. Paradiddle diddle. That's such a great one because that is the ride beat. So they sound great when you play them.
Of course. Actually, I remember before we were working on the book, I think you sent me. You were like, check out like Paradiddle Johnny from the Wilcoxon, right? And
Right,
played
right.
and actually that book, the Rudimental Swing Solo book, I think the All American Drummer is like super traditional stuff, but you could still swing it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And fortunately, my teacher that I went to, Billy Flanagan, who was a very good local teacher from Brockton, Massachusetts, that I went to, he had me swing all that stuff. And we're talking back in like, I started with him in 1963 and studied with him through the 60s into like 1972. So, and he was a swing drummer. He wasn't a bebop drummer. He was coming from like Louis Bellson, Buddy Rich, Gene Krupa generation. So he played all that swing style, and luckily I learned it as a kid. So.
That's great. This is a thing that I think would really helps people with trying to get their rolls cleaner. Can you talk a little bit about this concept, the accented upstroke?
Sure. Yeah. A good way it starts with doubles, where I'm opening the hand, and if I just, open the hand, let the stick come down, and then close the hand as I pick it up, you can pick it up with an accent. One way to hear that is if you play inverted doubles, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So the second note is on the beat. The 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Another approach that I put in there in that book video is like playing a paradiddle but accenting the second note of the paradiddle. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right. So I'm really, just right, picking up that second note of the paradiddle, and then it's ready for, ready to come down again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3. So you're really pulling that. It's you're accenting that second note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I did it with a double paradiddle. 1, 2, or triple paradiddle, which will 1, 3, 4. 1.
Nice. And some of the rudiments that you wouldn't think could lend themselves maybe to like a phrase like that, like the flammed mill, are in there too?
Yeah, the flammed mill is, I never knew I was playing that, but thinking about it as coming from flam taps. So going back to the whole ride cymbal thing where I was like playing, working on the ride cymbal beat because I found that was so helpful in developing my right hand technique. So if you play flam taps, it's essentially just the same rhythm but just displaced. If you just isolate, half of it, there's the ride beat. I got into really it led me to doing that, and that's the flam mill. But just think about the paradiddle has 4 inversions, right? Right, left, right, right. Second inversion is the diddle in the middle, right? Third inversion is the diddles first. Right, left, right. And the fourth inversion, the diddle is like a pickup. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we go back to the third inversion where the diddle's in the front, add a flam. That's just came out of the Flam taps. Yeah, and then I've gone a lot further since then with that idea, but if it's not, I think I made the point in this, these ideas are not meant to be difficult just for the sake of difficulty. They're meant to help you develop a smooth flowing technique and also have some fundamental vocabulary that's actually usable. So it's not meant as tongue twisters or anything hard. It's to help you be more efficient with your technique, so it's easier to play.
Well, I think that what's eloquent about it is that you're taking some groupings and some rudiments that everyone knows, and they're being, used in a way that when I was thinking about this, the grips, yes, are, of course, there's a big focus on those grips, but working on some of these phrases and patterns, even if you have not yet mastered all those grips, it could still be good things to work on, right?
Yeah, and by working on them in a conscious way, like, slowly and relaxed, you will be developing your hand technique.
Right.
And I think that because I do see a lot of drummers that could use some work on their hand technique. And it's very innocently done because many drummers, they get a drum set and then right away the right hand is delegated to playing the cymbal and the left hand is playing the backbeat on the snare drum.
Right.
And to really develop your hand technique, it does take time of just working on the hand separately on a pad or on a snare drum.
Right.
It's hard to really develop good hand technique if you're only playing on the drum set with each hand in their prescribed role.
Right. Right.
And so so that's my idea is like take some time and focus on just the hand
Support
aspect of things.
Yeah. And then you just, once you, like for me, I'm constantly reminded, and there's times where I slack on this, that then you have to maintain it. Like if you're not using it every day, the maintenance, but that's another,
Yeah.
I want you to,
It's a really good point. Absolutely. You got to maintain it.
yeah.
It's not
So
easy.
there's many things I love in the book, but there's something I love in the book that you kind of showed me preview when we did the book, and it's this idea.
Yeah.
The four, just two notes on the hand, two notes, and that's
Yeah.
in all the positions, and you just do a really great musical application of applying those. So can you talk about
Right.
that? It's like,
Yeah, like I found that just like I talked about the 4 inversions of the Paradiddle, there are 4 inversions of double strokes. And so it's, right, right, left, left. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then inverted doubles. And that was doubles starting with my right. Now inverted doubles starting with my right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then of course, then the opposite of that, doubles starting with the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then inverted doubles, starting with the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So that's just going through like, one bar of each, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 1. And then I was doubling the foot, the bass drum, which I have this little pad, practice pad, bass drum pedal. So I found that to be really helpful. In a way, it's kind of like a new rudiment. If you then play only one time through each pattern. So. Right, left. And then there's 4 different places you can start with that.
Right.
So,
I love it.
So then you start with the second inversion, right? With the inverted double. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Start with the left, 3, 4. And that just put all 4 in a row. But they sound cool.
They sound way cool, and
they sound cool, and it just gives me a lot of freedom, because then the next step is like you insert singles in between them. I found it to be a very useful hand technique development to go like 1. So I'm going smoothly from those doubles to singles in that same sequence. So it's a very easy and smooth way to mix up singles and doubles.
Okay, I didn't know about that. That's what I'm going to be shedding later. Okay, I want to get to some questions that I see in the chat here, but you could also take that and swing it, right?
Sure.
Right, and play it as a independence thing, right? Definitely. Cool. So I want to take a couple of questions, but again, just about everything we've talked about is in the book, and there's a lot of video. So please, Pathways of Motion, you should check it out. Steve, there's a question from my pal John Gill, and he wants to know if you could talk just a little bit about using the thumb in traditional grip.
Using the thumb. Okay, I guess mainly my traditional grip is hold just the thumb on top of the hand and using the thumb to keep the stick in the balance point. We didn't really talk about the balance point too much, but it is this point, where the stick can freely
All right, all right.
You know, have, and it's the same. It's the same whether it's traditional grip or match grip. It really ends up in the same spot. So with the thumb, I'm just essentially just trying to keep the stick in place. Now I've seen drummers use the thumb to play.
Right.
To you know get, but I'm not using the thumb. I'm using at this point the wrist. And this kind of motion is like a forward motion. The stick is traveling this way, which is different than molar, which the stick is going this way. And this, when I do the molar, you can see there's a lot of, it's like if I went all the way to the hi-hat. It's using that motion, but a lighter, and molar is mainly used to get a big sound.
Yeah.
And to do it in an efficient way. But if you don't want that big sound, you move a different direction. Sort of this is all covered in the drum set technique part of it.
Yeah.
Drum set. And it's sort of moving the hand this way. Now, definitely, you can have the finger on it, and the finger, in a way, you can reset the stick. You can pick up the stick. You can, put it back into position. But I tend to use that less and less if I can, because that can cause some tension here in my wrist. So I'm trying to keep the fingers a little more open. And that's using those inverted doubles. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's helpful.
Oh, you want to call?
I am.
So can you quickly, you were doing the 16ths accenting, ticka, 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 ticka.
Yeah.
Can you do the analog to that with matched grip in your left hand?
Not as well.
Well, just I have a question.
Yeah. So there would be like the molar version.
Yeah.
Where it. Wait, let me.
Yeah.
Go on. If it would be in the French group, would be like that. You could, they're both you get a different sound and a different feel.
Yeah. David Ross is saying the grip point moves further back on the stick for the matched grip, but it doesn't, does it? It's in the same place.
No. Same place.
Yeah. So do you worry about if you sometimes when you're doing molar, this or maybe some of the other movements, the stick moves across. It doesn't always hit in the same place on the head. It moves. Is that something to worry about? Because it's going to affect your dynamics, right? Like on a snare drum, not on a pad, but on a snare drum.
It can change sounds, but I like that motion. Right, I see what you're saying. But I use that kind of motion to smooth out doubles. That's one
Okay.
thing. It's like if you're playing doubles and you want to really smooth out. If you put some motion, it really smooths things out. Versus, I think I did talk about that in Pathways. If you play a press roll but you don't put in any side-to-side motion, it can sound pretty jagged. Versus, that smooths those kind of motions, whether it's this way or. So if I'm in grip 1, I tend to play outward, not inward. But if I'm in the French grip, I tend to then the smooth motions come inward. So. And I would do the same thing with traditional grip. And then it leads right to brush playing.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Right? Those same kind of motions.
Yeah. A couple of let me see if I can give you a couple more before we wrap up for today. Gino wants to know the song with 4/4 and 2 bars of 5/8. It was 8 plus 5 or
8 plus 5 is the name of it. Yeah, it does. It's always in 13, but it's in various versions of 13. So it starts. You hear this rhythm. You go. That's 8. That's 13 as well, but it's much harder for me to describe what it is. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Da 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 da. Right? So if you hear that phrase, da 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 da. Ta di ki tum ta tum ta tum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. And then it just keeps repeating. So it da 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 da. So you hear that phrase. That's the opening theme. It just comes from that. It comes from playing an 8 like this, and this is a very South Indian way of playing. Instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. It would be like an 8th note, 3 quarter notes, and an 8th note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And then playing a 5 like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Not playing all the notes, like playing a phrase in 5. 1, 2. It's like playing 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. So if you put those together. So one's on the beat, one's off the beat. So it sounds different. And then the next part is like 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5. So that's just, it's an 8 and 4 4 is 8, right? 1 2 3 4 is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5. And then the next section goes like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So in a way, it's everything's doubled. It's 8 plus 8, 5 plus 5. So it stays in 13, but it's a longer 13. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 then it goes even longer with this 4 bars of 4 and 4 times 5, so it always is changing, but it keeps that idea of 13 or 26, or depending on how you count it. So, wait, I lost your sound.
Sorry, you hear me now?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Now I hear you.
All right, thank you, Gino. I hope you got all that. Hudson Music's gonna call you and quiz you on all those. I don't want to neglect to mention that Pathways of Motion is on sale at hudsonmusic.com through Tuesday night, May the 6th at midnight, and there's an automatic discount if you buy the book. You'll get the discount there. So if you want to check it out, now's the perfect time. There was one.
I want to bring one thing up, and that I love this book that Hudson Music just put out, the Narada Michael Walden book, one of my favorite drummers. And through being involved with, I have an interview in this book that I met Aubrey Dale, the writer of this Narada Michael Walden book. And so I'm working with Aubrey and Pete Lockett currently to come up with a book about the Indian rhythms. So we're pretty far along with it, though it's such a big project. It might take us like another year of work. But we are working on a project where a lot of this stuff is explained, the stickings that I'm using, the conical syllables, all of that. So that's going to be it's a pretty big project, but we are making progress with it.
That's I was just looking. Aubrey was here. I guess he maybe had to teach or something, so he split. But he was actually here for the whole time until now.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Why don't we? Let's see. Let's take one more question. Let me see. Oh, yeah. I see Aubrey's just said in the chat that he had to. Let me make sure David has answered his question. The grip point is the grip point further back on the stick for the back version of the matched grip. So I think, David, are you asking about the one where you're holding the stick back here?
Yeah, the Tony Williams type.
Yes.
No, the sticks stay in the same place because then I can easily move from one grip to the other. So I'm not moving towards the back of the stick so that it's still, the stick does stay in the same place.
Beautiful. And here's one last one from my good friend Eugene, who I think you met at Drum Fantasy Camp. He wants to know if you vary your grip position for various spots on the ride cymbal itself.
Yeah, I probably do that. Like if but I tend to on the ride play in a pretty much the same spot, sort of halfway up. It's hard to tell. This is a Zildjian quiet cymbal, but I might go a little higher up with the French grip. If I'm in that more German grip, hand down, palm down, it might be more in the middle of the cymbal close to me versus a little further away with the French grip.
Right.
So yeah, and if I want to get more of a bell sound or a clearer sound but not actually play the bell, sometimes I'll play very close to the bell. You can hear there's a difference in sound.
Yeah. Sweet. I want to ask the last question myself, which is,
Yes.
well, do you have the snare drum tilted a little away from yourself?
Yes,
Do you do that even when you're playing match grip?
I do, because when I play match grip, I'm not playing exclusively match grip.
Okay.
But I am comfortable with having the drum tilted away from me.
Okay.
I'm more comfortable, and it does come from playing traditional grip, but I'm pretty comfortable with that. So I don't need to change it for match grip.
Okay.
But I guess now that we're talking about that, it's just an observation that I've made recently, and this has to do with, let's say, young drummers coming to jazz. Because I recently was at a high school big band event where a whole lot of, there was like 15 big bands, high school and junior high big bands playing. And I noticed something that was pretty, using the word ubiquitous, it was pretty much like almost all of them were doing this. They were playing jazz with match grip, but one of the reasons it didn't always feel too jazzy was because when they played the snare drum, they almost all the time played rim shots. And so the drummers, I'm sure that a lot of these drummers were playing jazz charts with their big band. They probably play, rock outside of that. But to get a sound that's more jazz-like, I had to make this suggestion to most of them, is to not play rim shots all the time with your left hand on the snare drum. And so, it's kind of innocent, like, because they're used to just play, so they so it would be really loud and kind of like, and then the band directors would say, could you play softer?
Right.
And they were having a lot of trouble playing softer because they were still playing rim shots
Right.
every time they played the snare drum.
Right.
And so the solution is just don't play rim shots. And be able to play the snare drum, so it's a much lower level than you're playing the ride cymbal. So to think about the internal dynamics, that you want that dominant sound to be the ride, and then just the sound of the snare drum with the tip of the stick, like in the middle of the head. Not a rim shot. So I bring that up because, we're talking about the angle of the drum. A lot of the angles were flat, and not that was contributing to the rim shot. It was just that it was a habit.
Yeah.
And I think I do talk about that and learn to play the snare drum without rim shots, and choose a rim shot if you want a rim shot, but don't be in the habit of always playing a rim shot, to default to play rim shots all the time on the snare drum.
Yeah.
So it was like an interesting observation that and as soon as they made that adjustment and stopped playing the rim shots, in a way the overall level of the drum set came down to be supportive and without that sort of jarring accent of the rim shot every time they played the snare drum.
So if they were younger, a couple things there. If they were younger players,
yeah,
their drum teachers probably don't know how to play with the right jazz dynamics because they would have told them not to do that.
Maybe, yeah, there's a good possibility of that.
And there's also that's also a beautiful. I laughed when you said the band director just said play softer.
Yeah, he wasn't noticing the detail.
Right, which is that's the art of being a great teacher or a great band leader is to think about your request to produce the result. It's only that one, you know what I mean? It's just a funny thing, but that's great. Well, Steve, thank you for giving us your time today.
Yeah,
it's always
fun.
A pleasure to speak with you and hang with you.
Same here. It's good to hang, Joe.
Yeah, likewise. Last time Steve and I got together, we played some historical drums.
That's right. Up in Oneonta, New York. At
and
the
Steve
Drum
said,
Museum. Yeah,
you're the one
Drum
who you said you have to come check this out, and it was amazing historical drum sets, and it was a lot of fun. So anyway, the book Pathways of Motion is on sale at Hudson Music through Tuesday. Steve's new album with vital information is called New Perspective. They'll be on tour throughout the east of the United States. I would highly recommend, if you have not seen Steve with his band, that you get out there and see it, to see one of our greatest living practitioners of the art of drum set playing in action. You definitely don't miss it. And my friend Mike Simbach is here on the call today. Mike's hosting Steve down in Westchester also. So if you're in that area, check out what Mike's doing. You can get a little more education from Steve.
Yeah,
and,
I'm doing a master class, and then we're going to do a concert right after at that gig. Yeah, that's going to be nice.
And Mike's been doing great things too, bringing in a lot of terrific artists. So
is this Westchester, Pennsylvania?
Yes, sir.
It is.
Yes, sir.
And when is that?
I'd have to look on the calendar, but it's at the end of June, near the end of
Oh,
June.
okay.
Let's get the date. Mike, type in the chat. When is the date? Adam, you gonna photobomb that thing?
Adam's in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Easton, PA, so
All right.
June
it's good to
28th.
know.
June
June
28th.
28th.
Yeah. So
Aha.
see that, you guys, the rest of you guys, this is going to be star-studded event. You better
If I'm out on parole, I'll try to come.
Sounds good.
I love it.
There.
Well, thanks everybody for being here. Steve, thank you again. And as Rob said in the chat, our fearless leader, Rob Wallace, president of Hudson Music, is here with us. We're going to try to do this on a fairly frequent basis, to have different authors and artists from Hudson Music talk about these things. I think this is pretty helpful, educational, give you some ideas for your practice and your teaching. So we'll hopefully do it again. And Steve will always and forever be one of our favorite friends at Hudson Music, and we look forward to his next big project. And Steve, we'll see you out there on the road.
Sounds good, Joe. All right.
All right, everybody. Take care now.